Welcome to Stillworks and Brewing. My name is Randy, and this is a channel that's all about home distillation and brewing. What are we going to get into today? Today we're going to start a new series called Light Whiskey. It's not what you think it is. Alright, but there is 5 things that you can do to help us out. You could do one of them or you could do all, and it all would be appreciated. Number 1, hit that subscribe button down there in the corner. Number 2, hit that notification bell. Number 3, share us with your friends. Number 4, give us that thumbs up if you like what you see. And of course, number 5, leave a comment and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Okay, to answer the question, what is light whiskey? We're going to have a little history lesson first. Back in the here in the United States, back in the late 60s, early 70s, the population of the United States, its taste was moving from the bourbons and whiskeys over to the vodkas, gins, and the tequila and such. And while this was happening, the distilleries, they were starting to get concerned. And they did not want to ride this storm out. So they figured they had to do something. So as they felt that the people wanted higher proof and less taste, so they could make cocktails and stuff. They wanted less bold flavors that the whiskey and bourbons had. So as most of you know, when you're distilling bourbon and whiskeys and such, it comes off a distill no higher than 160 proof, right? And so that's coming off at let's say a lower proof, a lot of them great flavors from the mashes coming through. And then they take it and they age it in brand new charred oak barrels. And in light whiskey, it comes off the still between about 160 to 190 proof, okay? And it is aged in used barrels or non-charred new barrels. And here's really interesting. It also goes in the bottle around 147 proof. Wow. This experiment that the distilleries had, it didn't go over very well. But here 50 years later, it's starting to make a comeback. There is a few commercial distilleries making light whiskey. But in my local liquor store, they did not have any, but I'm gonna still search around and see if I can find some. And since I couldn't find any, I figured I'll just make my own. All right. And so how are we going to do this? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my own whiskey mash recipe, and we're going to distill it between 60 and 190, and we're going to age it on some used oak. So let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start with our whiskey mash for our light whiskey. I'm going to start with about 3 gallons of 160 degrees Fahrenheit water. And then we'll start mixing in our grains. Okay. I pumped in about 3 gallons of 160 degree Fahrenheit water into my mash tun. So now we're going to start adding in our grains. Our first is, I got 2 row barley, 14 pounds worth. And like always, you just want to go slow so you don't get no dough balls and stuff like that. Now we know that the temperature is going to drop, so that's why we started with 160 degrees. Now we can always add a little bit of warm water, a little bit of cold water to get 147 is our real sweet spot, and that's where everything needs to be to get the conversion of starches over into sugars. like I've said in the past, I'd bring the camera in over and let you check it out, but it steams right up and you can't see anything. Get that a good stir in. That's a lot of grain. Okay, so the next addition is going to be 3 pounds of light Munich. Now I might have to add a little bit more water to this because it's starting to get a little dry. Not too bad. Okay, and then our last one is going to be 3 pounds of Crystal 60. I've used this mash bill for a lot of different whiskeys, and they've always turned out pretty decent, pretty darn good, to be honest with you. Now just for, see, we've dropped down to 135 with that. And all right, this one here is saying 142. That's probably born right, and I'm reading down inside the grain. So 144. So we're going to add in some more of that hot water, try to boost up. But I want 147 is what I want, and even 150, because it's naturally going to cool down within the next hour or so. Let's see what we got now. And 145, we're getting close. Let me put just a little more hot water in. Give that a stir. All right, that's 154. All right, 153. I'm gonna leave it right there. I'll just leave the top off of it for a couple minutes. Just give it a little more stir. Let her cool down. 151 would be perfect. Okay. So what we'll end up doing is, let me drop the temperature down just a little bit more. Now I could just put a little bit of cold water in there. I could. But I'm so close, I think I'll just leave the top off of it for a minute. Then we're going to set the timer for an hour and a half and let that conversion take place. So we'll see you about an hour and a half, okay? Okay, so it's been an hour and a half. We'll uncover this. And what we want is a little sample of the liquid. It's going to be hard to tell because it's got a little bit. Let me get a drop of iodine. Let me bring this over for you. Hey, let's see what this does. Put a drop of iodine in there. And if there's any starch left, it turned black. I mean, it went back to your you see it? Back to the original color. See? You just shake it. No black at all. So that means our conversion did take place. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to batch sparge. There's two main ways of doing it. You either fly sparge or batch sparge. I've had some questions about that. Fly sparge is you trickle water on the top and then you drain out the bottom, and you maintain, it's basically flushing the grains out as you maintain water on top, and it like oozes down and it's coming out the bottom, and you let out water just as fast as you're putting it in. Kind of hard to explain, and that's one way to do it. Batch sparging is I'll drain it out, close the valve, add more water, stir it up, drain it out until I collect, the amount that I want. Okay, that usually works pretty good for me, and that's how I do it. So let's start sparging. So I'm going to drain this out, and then what I'll do is shut my valve, fill back full of hot water, and do this again until I collect my 6 gallons that I want. Okay, so let me finish this up, then I'll be back. Okay, one thing I want to do is check my pH. I don't know if you can see that. It's 5.3. You know what, 5.3, I'm going to leave it right there. I'm not going to bother with it. I think that'd do me just fine. So, next thing we want to do. Alright, so next thing we want to do is we want to check our starting gravity. And we are looking at 1.080. I'm going to leave her right there. Okay. We got all our mash in the fermenter. Like I said, it's come out to 1.080. So that ought to be pretty decent. The pH was 5.3. I'm happy with that. What else? The next thing I got to do, the temperature's still a little bit warm, so what I'll do is let it cool down for a while. Then after a while, probably this evening, I'll come pitch some daddy yeast, a couple tablespoons of daddy yeast in it, and we'll let that ferment. I don't know, 7 to 10 days, somewhere in that neighborhood, it should be done. And then where this is going to be different than any other whiskey we make will be in the distillation process. So that ought to be pretty interesting. You don't want to miss that. That's going to be next. I think that's about it. I think this will be real interesting. And I'm going to look around for some commercial light whiskey, just so I can taste it, and compare it. Not that they're going to be the same, not that I'm looking to make it the same, but just something. One thing I did forget to say before, this goes in the bottle at 147 proof. Why they call it light whiskey. So it ought to be pretty interesting, like I said. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you next time.